testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated. And sir, would you tell us your name and
Troy.
spell your last name for us?
Tracy Edwards, EDWARDS.
Mr. Edwards, you're going to ask you to speak up very loudly into the microphone. I would like to know in what state do you reside at the present time?
Louisiana,
And how old are you, sir?
32.
32? And you are single?
Yes.
You were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on July the 22nd, 1991?
Yes.
And at or about that time, on that late afternoon, did you have occasion to see a person that you knew at that time or subsequently learned was a fellow by the name of Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes.
And you know that Mr. Dahmer you're speaking about is the defendant in this case to my right, correct?
Yes.
And that made a record I show the identification.
Sir, would you indicate where Mr. Dahmer is seated in the courtroom?
It's over there.
Right in the middle between my two associates?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
The record should reflect the defendant's been identified.
Now, Mr. Edwards, you and I met for the first time last evening,
Yes.
and you came up from Louisiana at my request with your attorney,
Right. That's
Mr.
correct.
Saeed, S-Y-E-D, Salet, S-A-L-E-T.
That's correct.
And you came up here to testify to the events, as you recall them, that occurred on the late afternoon, early evening, early morning hours of July the 22nd and the morning of July the 23rd, 1991.
That's correct.
So that you know, Mr. Edwards, your name is known to the jury because there has been testimony concerning what happened to you and at the apartment of Mr. Dahmer. Do you understand?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Where did you know Mr. Dahmer by name prior to that date?
I've seen him a couple of times before then. I didn't know his name personally.
All right. Did you ever talk to him before that date?
I was speaking to him, saying hello as he passed by. Yeah.
Just casual, friendly?
Casual. Yeah, friendly.
Hellos.
Hellos, yeah.
Where was it that you saw him in the late afternoon, early morning hours of July the 22nd?
Grand Avenue Mall.
And that was in Milwaukee,
Correct.
downtown on Wisconsin Avenue.
Wisconsin, correct.
Were you with somebody or were you alone?
A couple of her friends, yeah.
Okay, so the record is absolutely clear. You are not a homosexual, are you?
No, not at all.
Okay. So you were with a couple of your buddies, were you?
That's correct.
After he did that, did you go to his apartment?
Yeah.
What route?
Through the alleys, through the back way. We
Was
entered the
there,
back.
was there any discussion as to why you were taking that route?
Said it was safer, people wouldn't bother us or whatever.
At the time that you were walking with him towards his apartment, what was your plans on doing when you got to the apartment?
Really drinking the beer, I wasn't really sure if I was going to pose or not, you know. Yep, I wasn't really sure at that point. No.
You at least were contemplating maybe you would.
Well, yeah, I was going to make up my mind once I got there or whatever, you know.
Were you in need of money?
Yeah, I just started working and the offer sounded good at that time.
Okay. Now, when you got to his apartment, how was he acting? Tell us about his... tell me about his demeanor. You know what I mean by that, Mr. Edwards?
Yes,
how was
I
he
understand. acting? Just like a normal, everyday person, you know, friendly, good conversationalist. He was talking about the military, things of that nature, yeah.
Had you been in the military?
My father retired in the Air Force, so I've been to several different bases. I was born on an Air Force Army base in Fort Carson.
And that's the kind of thing you were talking to him
It's
about.
like a family thing, you know, so I know a lot about it.
Had he been drinking alcohol?
Yeah, I consumed some. He was drinking beer at the time when I first
Well,
met.
the time that you were like going to his apartment, was he intoxicated?
No.
Had he been drinking?
Yeah, I've been drinking a couple
How-
of beers.
How about you? Were you intoxicated?
No, not at all.
Had you had something to drink?
I sipped maybe a little beer, my friend's beer, that was it.
All right, now you get to the apartment. Do you go in the back way?
Yes, correct.
You went up to the apartment. Tell us what happens when you get up to the apartment. Tell us what you observed, what your senses told you.
Okay, first of all, it seemed like a normal apartment. When we got inside, he turned off burglar alarms. I asked him why. First, it was a foul odor, okay?
Tell us about that. What kind of an odor
It was
was
just like an odor. I didn't quite know what it was. You know, he told me a sewer pipe had broke and management would take care of it. You know.
And did you accept that?
Yes, because I worked around at construction companies before, and when pipes bust, sewer pipes bust, they smell, you know. So I
Okay.
brought that.
So you say your first thing you did was notice the odor. He opened the door to the apartment
Yes,
and you walked in.
yes.
He turned off something. What did he turn off?
Alarms.
Did you ask him about that?
Yeah, and he said the part of the neighborhood he was in, he was protecting his property, things like that, cameras, VCRs, TVs, things of that nature.
Did you accept that?
Yes, I did.
After getting in the apartment, can you generally describe the apartment, both the apartment that you saw then and the apartment that the other parts of the apartment you saw? Tell the jury what the apartment was like.
It was like normal, pretty decent apartment, had nice things in it. You know, it had certain boxes sitting on the front, neurotic acid boxes. I asked him about it. He said he cleaned bricks with those, you know, which you can use that type of acid to clean bricks, so I brought that also.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said. You asked him about some boxes,
Yeah, that were laying in the front living room floor.
and what did he tell you about those?
That he cleaned brick with the neurotic acid.
Okay. Now, was the apartment small, large, medium? Give us the size.
Kind of medium size, yeah.
All right. Now, when you went in there, you went in as you entered. Do you bring that up or does he?
He does.
And what do you do when he does that?
I turn to the right, like the fish tank is here. I'm turning all the way over here.
You
Yeah.
turn to your right to look at it,
To look at the fish tank, right.
and when that happens, what happens to you?
All of a sudden, a handcuff and a knife is pulled on me. Yeah.
Handcuff is placed on your body. Where?
On my left wrist.
And you see a knife.
Yeah, the knife, yeah.
Now, at that moment, what do you do?
First, I feel fear, then I ask him what's going on. You know, this is not necessary, you know, to pull a knife on me at that
Are you
point.
afraid?
Yes,
Do you have any reason to know why he did that?
none whatsoever.
Did you have any idea at that time it was going to happen?
No.
Tell me about his demeanor at that time when you looked and realized he had a knife and you in a cuff. You were only cuffed on one wrist.
One wrist, yeah.
What was happening to the other part of the handcuff?
Okay, he had it in his hand,
He was holding it.
holding that in the wrist, yeah.
Where was the knife? In the other hand?
The knife was like he had here, the knife was in his hand, he had it on me like this.
Let the record reflect he was holding the knife in his right hand as he showed it, holding the cuff in his left hand. Is that right?
Right.
And your left hand is cuffed.
Yeah, right.
Where do you have the knife? What kind of a knife was it?
It was like a military knife, a machete of some type. Yeah, he had it lowered right up under my rib cage, you know. Like
So
in
he
the
had
back, somewhere in the back here.
You had it pointed at your rib cage.
Yeah.
Did you feel it? Touch
Yeah,
it?
he had it on me. He had it against my body.
What happened? What was going through your mind the moment that happened when you realized you had a knife at your side and a handcuff on your hand? What did you think?
I think, like, you know, what's going on, you know? This guy is so nice, and all of a sudden, you know, it's like he's pulling knives and handcuffs and all on me, you know?
What'd you do? What'd you say to him?
I asked him what the problem was, you know, that it's not necessary to do this, you know?
What'd he say?
He told me at that point if I wouldn't do what he said, he would kill me, yeah?
Now, tell us about his demeanor at the time that you look at him and you say, what's going on? You don't have to do this. What happens to Mr. Dahmer? What's he like?
It's like not the same person that we met at Grand Avenue Mall.
How does he different?
His face structure seemed different, you know, his body structure is like it wasn't him anymore, you know? It's like it was a totally different guy there.
So he told you if you didn't do what he told you to do, he'd hurt you.
He hurt me.
What'd you do? What happened? Tell us what happened step by step as best you can
And
remember.
then all of a sudden he kind of calms down, you know? And then he said he has a key in the bedroom, so we proceed to the bedroom.
The key to the handcuffs.
Right.
So you believed he was going to take them off?
Yeah, at that point I had to go along with this guy, you know, and then if I had to find out, so I walked back there with him. He kind of guides me back there, you know.
Guides you back with the cuff and the knife?
Yeah, right.
And you go into the bedroom.
Right.
What do you see in the bedroom?
A big, about 50, 60 gallon drum barrel, whatever.
Do you ever see a 50, 60 drum barrel in anybody's bedroom
No.
before?
Not at all.
Do you have any idea? Did you ask him what it was?
No, at that point I asked no questions at that time. You know.
Was there a bed in that room?
Yes.
How was the bed? Was it made, unmade? What
It
what
was
option?